Hey guys, my name is Daron from Property Partners, and in our previous video, we actually covered all the 5 upcoming new launches that will be launching sometime in 2025. But in this video, we'll do something slightly different. I want to look at each individual project, really deep dive into the floor plan to analyze whether what is this project all about or whether is it even a good buy or not. Okay, so without further ado, let's go and dive into the project. If you are new to this channel, my name is Daron and I've been in the real estate industry for well over 10 years now, serving over 500 over families. If you want a more personalized discussion, feel free to contact my number here or my QR code somewhere on this screen and we can get in contact again. So without further ado, let's dive into this project called Penrith. So Penrith is one of the projects that we discussed in our previous video, and just want to give you a quick overview of it. But probably these details you already have it like somewhere through probably another video or another brochure that you already have, right? But just quickly go into it. So this is comprising of 2 blocks of 40 stories, of course by very reputable developers Hong Leong and Guaco Land. It's a 99-year development and land size quite a modest 102,000 square feet in land size. But whether does that affect or not, we'll find out later on. Because TOP date will be roughly around 4 years, 3 to 4 years usually when they launch the project because they need some time to build it, right? And then total 462 units comprising of 2 to 4 bedroom types. For the developers, of course, we all know Hong Leong, Guaco Land all have been very reputable developers and they have done really good projects that I've personally seen as well. Places like Penrith, Midwood, Commonwealth Towers, Martin Modern, those are the places I visited in the resale market before. Have been very, very impressed by it. If they do keep it up, certainly is something that is worth considering, having a good reputable developer. Okay, so let's look at the actual site plan itself. When I received this information, I was really quite happy because if you see recent projects or nearby projects, right, I was a bit worried because the land size is quite skinny and long, like a rectangular shape, right? So I was a little bit worried, right, how the developers will build it. Okay, this is the north facing, this is the south, this will be the west, this is the east facing. I was initially worried whether the developers will build it similar to like Alex Residence or Margaret View, right, whereby most people are actually west and east facing. But thankfully, the developers choose to go the more traditional route. And sometimes, to me, traditional is good because it's a proven method. It might be cookie cutter, but cookie cutter is sometimes good as well because it's proven in the resale market. Having done so much resale transactions, right, sometimes I always wonder, wow, how did developers build it like that? Or why did they build it like that? That is really not very sellable in the resale market. Having that experience of well over 10 years of viewing resale properties, right, I'm very, very sensitive as to how the developers build it, because I know how it affects the resale value in the resale market. 2 blocks here of 40 stories, so very straightforward. So what they did is that because this view over here has a pure unblocked view of the Margaret Drive area, of course, we must clear the school first, then it's unblocked view. But even with the unblocked view, right, there is 2 parcels of land down there that can potentially build up to 20 over stories. So that's why I think the developer chose to go the more safer route, whereby, yes, they give the bigger units this facing the potential unblocked view, and the rest of them, they give a very safe pool facing. Whereas this facing over here, you'll be facing the HDB flat, but still at approximately 45 meter distance, which is still very comfortable. Okay, one thing that really surprised me is that for a land size like that, not bad. They managed to even fit in a tennis court, which is always quite a bonus. And in terms of car access wise, quite straightforward as per all new condos. You come in this way, you go straight into the basement car park, which is quite a standard one for projects in the new era. Okay, so nothing really out of the norm here. So this is something that I am quite happy with. So we're going to look at all the floor plan types. So skip to the one that you're most interested in. But of course, if you want to, feel free to watch all the way through. So let's start with the 2-bed, 1-bath. For a 2-bed, 1-bath, 614 square feet, do take note this is a harmonized land, which means you got to plus another 5%, leading you to maybe about 640 something, 640 something square feet, which is quite typical for a 2-bed, 1-bath in the resale market now. Okay, but layout wise, what I see so far in this floor plan, right, that I'm pretty happy with is that once you enter in, here there's a little bit of a dead space. Maybe you can do a bit of a shoe cabinet. Other than that, when I walk into this layout, right, visually, I like that the feeling is very, very spacious. And then here, your L-shaped kitchen, right? Yes, how I wish is an enclosed kitchen. I've seen 2-bed, 1-bath that are enclosed. If you go to Avenue South Residence, you can see a very nice floor plan over there. But this one here, I find that if you don't have an enclosed kitchen, then the next better choice is having it L-shaped, so that here visually and actually physically even, you can put in a proper dining space. Sofa wise, not the biggest. You probably have a 2-seater, maybe a 3-seater, probably still possible. But something that you may need to compromise is a TV size. So probably 45, 55 inch should be possible over here. I'm glad that new condos, balcony-wise, not say super big. It's a good size, not too overly big, not too overly small as well. But importantly, for the common bedrooms and the master, both can minimally fit a queen-size bed, which is something I think is a minimum demand if you're buying a flat or you're trying to invest in one and you're trying to resell it next time. Because this is something that people are very mindful of, right? The size of the bedroom. Like next time in the resale market, you will definitely have competitors, right? If you go to a nearby project, okay, nothing wrong with it. I think it's still a pretty okay project. But if you go and look at Queen's Peak floor plan, right, then you can easily see it's a very, very huge size. I think 2 bed, 2 bath. Okay, we're comparing a different type altogether, but 2 bed, 2 bath down there is 743 square feet. Very, very good size. But the common bedroom can only put a single bed. So to me, it's like big size, but then not a very efficient use of the space. So this one right here, I think pretty okay. Here you have access from the master into the master bath, which is quite a bonus, even though I think it's no need to have an extra door over here because you can easily access through the outside area. So 2 bed, 1 bath, pretty straightforward. Nothing to really like have anything better. So what is actually more exciting is the facing, the choice that you have. Because what I see over here is that 2 bed, 1 bath will be stack 4 and stack 10. Stack 4 having the potential unblocked view provided if you clear the school. So to me is, how I see is very clear is that this stack over here, once you clear the school, once you have the unblocked view, right, the developer potentially will load the pricing over here, higher and higher pricing, because why? Ultimately, developer is here to make money, right? So if a developer wants to earn money, they can probably load here, higher floor, higher price as compared to the pool facing. So to me, as an investor, if you're buying this 2 bed, 1 bath unit, or even your own stay, right, to me is that here, since I don't get a super unblocked view or like a super ultra very good view in any way, right? Or maybe I need to buy like 30, 40 stories, then I can be very, very safe, right? I might actually consider to go for stack 10 instead, provided if the price is much cheaper. Depending on how the developer's behavior is, if they choose to load the pricing at stack 4, I might actually jump and buy stack 10 instead, because what I'm buying is certainty. I'm buying the pool facing, so low, mid, high floor actually doesn't really matter. What matters more is the entry price. So on to the 2 bed, 2 bath. This is 678 square feet. So pretty decent size for a new condo, 2 bed, 2 bath. Okay, one thing about the layout, once you come in, you have a storage area over here. And then your kitchen is quite enclosed. Of course, there's no windows because it's quite typical for a 2 bed, 2 bath. It always will be the center stack. So they won't have a window for ventilation. But this is what probably the best you can get, which is an enclosed kitchen over here, tucked in one corner. So even if you have a messy kitchen, you can actually hide it in one side. Dumbbell layout, which is something I think people like as well because there is no wastage of walkway space. And bedroom-wise, both queen or king-size bed, I think it's still very comfortable. And then even the common bedroom has ensuite as well, linking to the common bath. So that is quite a bonus as well. But what I really like this one here is the living hall area, because it's a longish living hall. Your dining has proper 4 to 6 seater dining. You can have it here. Sofa wise, you can even go bigger if you want to, facing a wall over here. Not the longest, but maybe definitely can still put like a 45, 55 inch TV for sure over here. So to me, no really big complaints about this layout. I think in the new launch market, this is like almost as efficient as you can get already. So a quick comparison versus the 2 bed, 1 bath and 2 bed, 2 bath. Of course, you have a shortage of 1 bathroom in the 2 bed, 1 bath, right? And then the next thing is, of course, the kitchen area. Your kitchen for the 2 bed, 1 bath, a recap, is actually tucked inside. You have a dead space over here, similar to what your 2 bed, 2 bath is, but your 2 bed, 2 bath will have an enclosed kitchen and of course, additional bathroom. But back to the stack selection, right? So how I see it is that, same theory once again. Usually a pool facing should be priced a bit higher because that's considered like the premium facing, right? For this instance, I think this would be the case is because stack 7, nothing wrong, is facing the HDB flat. So you get a wide open view over here. But my thoughts is that developers should price or will price the pool facing a bit more expensive because it's a certainty and it's like the pool view, which is considered like the premium facing, right? So how I see it is that if the premium is very little, go for certainty and buy stack 1. But of course, if the difference is so big, right, we have seen before a difference of like even 150,000, right? If that's the case, right, I might be tempted to consider this one instead because I'm getting a much lower entry price for exactly the same product. Now, on to this 3 bedroom that is very interesting. I've hardly seen it before. It's a compact tree, right, for 786 square feet. Oh, some people I can already tell are going to be very offended by it or very upset by it. Three bedder so small, 786. I think the developer has think through very clearly and they know who their target audience is, right? So this group of people, right, potentially, right, might have a bit more budget. They are actually okay with the 2 bed, 2 bath, but if they were to push a little bit more, they might be able to jump to a compact tree. So it's more for actually like maybe small families that are already considering the 2 bed, 2 bath, but always wanting to future-proof it a bit, right? For just maybe a little bit more, of course, not sure how much more the developers will load onto it, but you can get a compact tree instead. So let's look at this compact tree, right? 786, right? Where did they actually compromise? Because what I'm seeing is that queen size bed, king size bed for the rooms. Your both common bathrooms and master bathroom is also good size. So yes, where they compromise is actually in your kitchen area and your living space. Because something's got to give, right? Because usually 3 bedrooms are like 850, 900, 1000 square feet. For this kitchen over here, you don't have any yard or utility room, which is expected. You do have a window though, because it's a corner stack. So window for ventilation, I think is really a bonus. But where they took the size off is really in the kitchen, because it is quite a compact one, though enclosed, but it's quite a small one. And living dining wise also, you can put a 6-seater dining and a 3-seater sofa, but there's not much breathing space in the middle. Now, so the way I see it is that if a family is husband, wife, maybe with one child, or maybe even dual income, no kids kind of a family, they don't mind a 2 bedroom, but if budget allows, actually a compact tree would be something quite interesting because it still keeps the quantum relatively affordable. So as I was saying earlier, yeah, the big two versus the small tree comparison, right? You can see the difference in size is actually only about a 90 square feet kind of a difference. So to me is that yes, 90 square feet maybe times the PSF, you're maybe looking at about like maybe 200k plus difference. So if the difference becomes very, very small, right? There might be a scenario of, let's say a buyer, right, goes into the booking, right? And then they will see that, hey, I can only buy a high floor 2 bedder, which the price already staged upwards already because it's higher floor, developers load up per floor level jump, right? So why not I may consider a lower floor 3 bedder if it's still available, because the price gap might be very, very close. So this 786 square feet, right, might surprise me and might actually do quite well because of the fact that it's actually very affordable. On to the 3 bedrooms, and we do have 3 layouts to review. So this is the one. 850 is usually the compact one, so that's why the 786 was really quite a surprise. But the 850 is the entry-level 3 bedder, and let's have a look at the floor plan. So when you first come in, you do have an entryway for privacy. So most people might do like a shoe cabin over here. So quite handy, a little bit of considered wasted space, but I think it's quite handy for a bit of privacy. Kitchen-wise, you do have glass over here, which I think is quite handy because you can be still in the kitchen, but also see into your living hall, so it adds to the spaciousness. Quite a compact kitchen, but gets the job done, and you also have a window for ventilation, because it's the corner stack. Living hall-wise, definitely much more spacious as compared to the 786 because you can have your 6-seater dining table and you still got a lot of breathing space in the middle before you put your 3-seater sofa and your TV. And TV wise, you don't have to compromise because you have a long wall over here. So even if you're flipping it the other way around or this way around, you can have a very nice, long and big TV here. Bedroom wise, actually, if you realize, right, regardless of whether you're the smaller unit or the bigger unit, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, right, all the bedroom size are pretty standard. Queen size bed in the common bedroom, king size bed in the master. I think the developers have got it spot on in terms of the way the bedroom sizes is. So 3 bedroom premium, where is the difference? So from a 850 to a 936, predominantly your difference is in this area here. You do have an extra yard and a storeroom. So this layout will appeal to probably more of the HDB upgraders, because HDB upgraders, let's say they are staying in 3-room HDB or 4-room HDB flat, right? They are already used to having a storeroom or bomb shelter, right? So having this store over here will be quite a seamless upgrade in terms of lifestyle. They don't have to really significantly change the lifestyle or build more cabinets because this layout already has a store. And for the last one, the 1066 square feet, if you desire a little bit more space. But where actually is the a bit more space, right? If I were to compare the 3 bedroom 936 and the 1066, right, the difference in space actually is more in the living hall. Because for the 1066, you get a split living dining kind of a design, slightly wider. In your master as well, you get kind of a walk-in kind of a closet. Whereas for the 936, it's just the standard kind of a design over here. If I'm a buyer going for the 936 and 1066, of course, if finances allows, just go for the bigger one. But to me, I look at it in a way of having a lower entry price, but still getting the same job done, right? I might lean more towards the 936 square feet. Because once again, the difference in size is about 130 square feet, meaning to say 130 square feet you times however much, 2,000 over kind of a PSF price, right? Easily the difference might be about 200, maybe even 300 over 1,000 difference in price. And if let's say the price really is significantly so much difference by like 2 to 300,000, right? I might actually lean towards getting the 936 instead. I'm paying so much more for the 1066, but not getting much more for it. Does it make sense? Because the only difference is having a bigger dining and a bigger closet space for 200,000. Facing wise, actually, if we look at the facing, it's actually the same. The 936 stack number 2 gets the pool view. Stack 91066 also gets the pool view. So view wise, totally the same, but pay $300,000 more for bigger wardrobe. Is it worth it? You decide. On to the big one, the 4-bedroom. You do have 2 sizes. You have a 1173 and a 12814 4-bedroom premium. So let's dive and see the difference between both. So for the 4-bedroom, once you enter in here, you have a nice big dining and living area. So very comfortable. Even your dining table, want to flip this way, flip that way, also can. So your living and your TV area is all very comfortable. I think there's nothing much to really complain about this particular layout. Back to the kitchen, it's a good sized kitchen. You still have a glass over here to look into your living hall. So it does feel very spacious. Yard, storeroom, and WC at the back. So this fits a lot of like family needs. Bedroom wise, you have your queen size bed, king size bed. You still got your walk-in closet similar to the 3-bedroom premium. So I think you can even do more closet space here if you want to, if the walk-in closet is not enough. And for the 4th bedroom, I think I'm okay with the 4-bedroom facing backwards. This one won't have any view, it's just facing the neighbor's unit. And actually, I don't mind something like that, because the other alternative is to have the 4th bedroom over here. That means bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, and then your master over here, right? But if you have that kind of layout, yes, basically every room will have the nice view, but you compromise in terms of the space because there will be a presence of a longer walkway. So I think this is a good trade-off, having a shorter walkway. 1 bedroom doesn't have the view, but you get more internal usable space. Okay, one thing probably left to be desired about this layout, I don't want to say everything is like super good about it, right? Is that I wish this walkway somehow can be a little bit shorter, because with this presence of the long walkway, right, you can't really do much with this space. You can try putting a shoe cabinet, but it's going to be awkward blocking the walkway space. So maybe this area you can do like a mirror, or you can hang like paintings, right? But otherwise, not really super usable space. So if there's one thing I want to nitpick, this is probably one thing I might nitpick. In terms of the facing wise, so this is where it drastically gets different. Once again, because it's the big unit, developer has given it the premium facing. So for the 4-bedroom, 1173 square feet, one facing is facing the unblocked side, but provided if you go higher floor. But to me, the way I see it once again is the entry price. Because if the entry price here is significantly different to the entry price for Stack 11 that you have certainty of the pool facing, right? Then to me, no-brainer to jump to the one that is cheaper. Because ultimately, if you buy much higher price, always ask yourself, can you resell it for a much higher price in the resale market to get the same amount of profits? Doesn't mean always the best view means gets the best profit. So of course, if you want to know more analysis about this, can go a deep dive into it, into a more personalized one for you. Just scan my QR code somewhere on the screen and then we'll get in contact. I'll share more with you. And lastly, the 4-bedroom premium, the big one, 1281 square feet. Of course, for people that are in the resale market or staying in an older property, you won't find this like super big, but I think it's quite a generous size already for 4-bedroom premium unit. And let's look at the floor plan. So floor plan, once again, nothing wrong with the floor plan. I just find that if they can somehow shorten this walkway, then you can make it more usable. I think that is the only qualm I have about this layout. But other than that, looking at the living hall, I love it. This kind of landscape layout, right, it makes the whole space feel wider. So you might have a very narrow feeling coming in, but after this, visually it feels very big because you can see both left and right, almost 180-degree view, right? So long balcony, of course, not everybody super likes, but what I really like, you allow more light and wind to come in. I think light is more important. When you allow more light to come in, the house feels even brighter, it feels even bigger. The landscape layout certainly helps with that. Bedroom wise, I think we have gone through so many times. Queen size bed, king size bed. This one here comfortably allows you to do another wardrobe here. I think you will do one here because this, if it's not enough, you can have one more over here. I think it's a nice touch to have all the bedrooms ensuite. So even these 2 common bedrooms here, you have an ensuite Jack and Jill to a bathroom in the middle. And your common bath also is ensuite to bedroom 4. So that's quite a nice touch. I think the developers have done quite well with this layout. If let's say I were to give a score like 110, right, maybe this I give it like a 9. So overall, what do I think of the floor plan? I think generally the developer has got it quite well and done quite well with the floor plan. Being a very reputable developer, doing many other projects before, they have had a lot of experience and history doing this. So to me, I'm very pleased when I see a site plan and a layout like that. But of course, once again, I might support this project, right? But entering into the right unit is even more important, because there can be a case of having a right project but a wrong unit. So importantly is to really study, right, how the developers behave in terms of pricing the unit. So of course, if you want to know more about how they're going to do it, whether this project is even suitable for you, feel free to reach out to my QR code or number somewhere on this screen and we can get in contact and I'll share more with you in detail.